What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the In the Lane podcast. This is the podcast where your favorite New England athletes, coaches, and more get interviewed and ask questions about their sport, life, and more. I'm your host, Mike Lane, and today we welcome North Andover High School soccer player and track and field star Nate Solivan, coming up next on In the Lane podcast. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. This is the fourth edition of In the Lane podcast, filmed at the NACAM studio on Main Street here in North Andover, Massachusetts. I'm Mike Lane, your host of the show, and across the way is our guest for today, Nate Solivan. Thanks for coming on the show, Nate.
Thanks for having me, Mike. This is awesome.
This has been an episode that I'm really excited for because as soon as I texted you, you were like, of course, Mike, I'll happily be on it.
Absolutely. Right on board. I love stuff like this, and I love that you're reaching out to people in the community, people in New England, athletes and coaches. It's a great opportunity, great experience.
I love it. I'm going to start with soccer to start the show.
Cool.
How long have you played soccer?
I first started playing soccer when I was 4, so that's 13 years now.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And, what made you wanted to start playing soccer?
So, basically, it's a funny story. My parents tried, every other sport. My dad was a hockey player. My mom was always a cheerleader for the football team, so they tried me in every other sport, but I didn't like any of them, and I was pretty good at soccer. And it was the cheapest sport because all you had to do was buy some cleats and a ball. So I played soccer, and from then, I didn't love it at first, but it grew on me throughout the years, and now I obviously love it.
That's awesome. So none of your family played soccer, like your mom and dad? But
no, I'm the first one. My cousin now plays soccer because I played it, but a lot of my family, they weren't, we're not the most athletic family, so I'm the first one that's really sports focused. My family is usually a lot academics.
Yeah.
But I'm the first one that I'm really lucky I get to play soccer.
That's awesome. What position do you play in soccer?
I play center back, which is defense, so nothing
really cool.
Nothing gets past me.
Has there ever been a moment while playing soccer that injury or a really tough moment that you've had to overcome?
Yeah, actually at the end of this season, it was our last regular season game. It was against Chelmsford, and it was a big important game for our playoff positioning for the MIAA tournament. And right before the game started, in warm-ups actually, I pulled my hip flexor, and this is an injury that's happened to me before, and I was just devastated because it was a huge game against our rivals Chelmsford, and I had so many thoughts going through my head I'm gonna miss the rest of the soccer season, the rest of the track. Thankfully, our great trainer Alyssa helped me out with that, but that was it was a lot of time that I spent with Alyssa and I spent with PT battling back from that injury that is just a nagging injury. And that's probably been the hardest thing to overcome in high school sports for me, as opposed to youth sports where it's practice twice a week, we play whenever you want to. But high school sports, it's every day in the heat, and it's a lot bearing on your body. So it's tough to figure out the balance between recovery and playing time. But I think at North Andover we got a lot of really good people helping out as best we can.
Since you're a senior, are you planning to play soccer in college?
I was thinking about it, but I'm probably going to stay more with intramural. I plan on going to a bigger school, maybe UMass Amherst. So nice. I think intramurals, not just soccer, every sport, because I love to play sports in general. It's not just specifically soccer or track. It's I just love to compete with people.
That's awesome.
Play as a team. So I think in college I'll probably stick to intramurals more.
That's good.
Yeah.
Where are you thinking of going to college?
Maybe UMass Amherst, maybe Vermont I like a lot, but it depends on the money and stuff. But yeah. I visit a lot of schools. My family's been really open to the opportunity. Early on, I was thinking about going for track or soccer. I had a few offers, but it's ended up I'm just gonna go to the best place I can and make sure they got some good intramural sports over there.
What's your favorite memory in soccer that you've ever experienced?
So backstory: when I was a sophomore and during soccer, I was on the JV team, but I also went to the varsity team sometimes to sit on the bench, or sometimes if we were up by a lot or losing by a lot in this case, I'd go in the game. And we played this team called St. John's in Shrewsbury. So we traveled an hour away to them, and we lost 7-0. And it was it's the biggest loss in North Andover history for soccer still to this day. And it was embarrassing.
Wow.
It was a long bus ride home, to say the least. But then my junior year, we played them again at our place, and it was a battle the entire game, 0-0 the entire game. And there's literally a minute left on the clock, and one of our guys goes on a breakaway and he scores it, and it was just the best feeling. Like, it's still my best memory in sports to this day. It was just all that like frustration we had built up from the year before, just let it all out in the celebration. It was amazing.
That's awesome. I'm going to transition to track. So when did you start doing track?
I didn't start doing track until my spring of my freshman year, so not that long ago.
Mm-hmm. And like, who inspired you to do track?
Mr. Nugent is definitely a driving force in a lot of the recruitment to do track. But a lot of my friends, like James Yonchak, his family is a track family. So he was like, oh, yo, do track in the fall. I mean, it'll be fun. You'll get to just run and get in shape for soccer. And it's funny because I joined track to get in shape for soccer, but I think I became better at track than I am at soccer. So, yeah, that's my story of getting in there.
So do you do both indoor and outdoor track?
Yeah, I do. I'm the captain for the indoor and the outdoor team this year. I didn't start doing indoor until my sophomore season. Because during my freshman year, I just sat around all winter just waiting for outdoor to start. But now I do both, so it's awesome.
So what's like some differences between outdoor and indoor track?
Outdoor, it's a lot more catered to junior varsity and the varsity team as well. But indoor, it's kind of just like really competitive. Only the top athletes get to compete every week, which kind of stinks. But the biggest difference is like in indoor, you have a lot shorter races. Like in indoor, the hurdles race is only 55 meters, when in outdoor, it's 110 meters. So I like indoor a lot more because I don't have to run as far and it's not as tiring. But it's a lot of fun. It's a different kind of vibe. For indoor, it's kind of just more seen through, like competitive. Like we're just like digging day in and day out, trying to get better every day. But in outdoor, it's kind of more just like relaxed. It's kind of like everyone gets to have their turn. But we're both very competitive and very successful in indoor and outdoor.
What events do you do for indoor and outdoor?
For indoor, I do the 55-meter hurdles and sometimes the 600 meters, which is a lot. And then in outdoor, I do the 110-meter hurdles and the 400-meter hurdles.
What's a favorite memory from track? That, like, you told me your favorite memory about soccer. So what's your favorite memory about track?
From track, it's so every year there's actually 2 state championships a season for track, which is kind of unique to track. They have one called like the normal state championship, and there's also one called state relays. State relays is when there's no individual scores; it's only based on a team relay score. And North Andover is built on state relays. Like, we're super successful because we have so much depth in our program. So it's a big deal to us. And hurdles actually starts out every single meet. It's the first event every time. So there's a hurdle relay. And so there's 4 guys running in one race, and one after another they run back and forth. And my junior year, our first guy ran his leg great. I was the 4th guy. Our first guy ran great. Second guy ran great. But our third guy came out, and there was a girl standing right in front of his hurdle, just like one of the workers there. And he absolutely barreled her. And he ran like right through her, fell over. And it was like his whole thing, and I was like, my heart just dropped. I was like distraught, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're not going to score any points because he just ran right into her. But thankfully, the referees saw the sign that she saw that they was right in front of the hurdle, so they were like, you know what, you guys can redo it. So we had to go by ourselves, but like our entire team, I'll never forget like how loud it was in the building when we got to go again and we were on the line. Our entire team was just standing up in the bleachers, looking down on us. And I remember I got like chills while I was running the race because like I remember when the guy passed me, the third guy who had fallen in the race before, everyone started screaming on our sidelines, and it was just like running through that. I felt like I couldn't be touched. Like, it was awesome. And we ended up getting second in the meet and qualifying for nationals, which is awesome. Yeah.
Was that this year?
That was last year. We qualified for nationals this year as well, but last year was after that whole debacle.
So since you're going to nationals, like, what's the preparation for that? It must be like pretty intense.
It's actually not as intense as you think it would be, because we try to because obviously nationals is awesome, but we're more worried about like our team success going into outdoor, so we don't want to like work too hard on our bodies. So nationals is kind of just like more for fun, honestly, because we're not going to win nationals. We know that. We're not a private school from usually the southern states usually win those, but it's a lot more laid back. There's not a lot of people at practice, like I was telling you before the show. It's kind of just like the 4 or 8 guys who qualified in a relay. But when we work, you know, like we try our best day in and day out. We want to make sure that we're prepared to go like run against the best guys in the entire country. And luckily it's in Boston this year, so we don't have to travel too far. But it's a great opportunity to run on a great track, the New Balance track, and it's a lot of fun to do. Yeah.
Where was Nationals last year? Was it Boston or was it somewhere else?
Last year, it used to be in New York every year. Last year we went to Nike Nationals in New York with our relay team. It was a lot of fun. So we got to go to Times Square, and we just got to do a bunch of touristy things. And then the running was the part on the side. Oh yeah, we did all this in New York. Let's go run now. We did well. We got I think 7th overall, which was really impressive. But my sophomore year, we got 5th in the country at New Balance Nationals, which was really surprising.
Wow.
We got All-American. That's I'm putting that in my resume. One of my proudest achievements. We had a great team that year, and we got a great team every year. And this year we're going to New Balance Nationals in Boston, and we're looking to put on a show.
How many teams are at Nationals usually?
Usually it's a pretty big number. I'd say it's around 40 to 50 teams that are there, the best teams in the country, because it's not marked on based on a certain number of teams that can go into it. It's marked on a time. So if you meet that certain time, you can get into it. But there are, like I said, there are 2 nationals every year, or there are a couple, but there are 2 big ones: the New Balance Nationals and the Nike Nationals. Nike's in New York, New Balance is in Boston. So we're going to Boston this year. So it's kind of split, 50-50, who goes to New Balance, who goes to Nike. But I think the best people go to New Balance, and so that's why we wanted to go to New Balance this year.
That's awesome.
And just compete with the best guys.
So one thing I've known about you for the year that I've known you is you always have a positive attitude. Even if it's the worst day ever, you are always smiling. How do you use that in sports? If it's in track or soccer, how do you always have such a positive attitude?
Definitely, it's huge. I think the biggest reason, I guess, especially as a senior captain, that I have a positive attitude is because I need to. Because the team reflects based on how their leaders are reacting, how their captains are reacting. And from a young age, I used to play on a lot older soccer teams than my age group. I was always the youngest guy on the team. And I remember whenever there was negative energy on the team, whenever I was getting yelled at, I would play so much worse. And I was completely rattled by it, and I was not all smiles then. But I just turned it around and I said, I want to radiate positivity to the people around me, and they'll play better. Because when you get positive feedback as opposed to getting screamed at if you make a bad pass, then you're going to do much better. And say you have a bad rep in track, you run a bad race, you're going to feel way better if someone's coming over you telling to keep your head up and get ready for the next race, as opposed to someone's how did you run that bad of a time? So staying positive is huge in sports, not just from a mental aspect. It's got to keep you, it's keeping you focused, it's keeping you in love with the sport you're doing, because if you're not having fun with the sport you're doing, then at that point there's no point to even playing in the sport.
Yeah. Because
that's the main goal of it all. And I think if you just keep having fun, you're going to even perform better.
That is so true.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things I've heard someone say. Do you have a favorite sports movie?
Yeah, actually, Cool Runnings it's a movie about the Jamaican bobsled team, and that is, I'd say I take a lot of positivity from that movie. I mean, they have the 4 guys on the team that are just 4 typical guys you would see on every sports team you're on. You got the goofy guy, you got the guy who's too cool for it, you got kind of the nerdy guy, and you got that super driven dude who's just no jokes or anything, fully committed. And I think that together they make the perfect team, which is a great metaphor for any sports team you're ever going to be on. If you're going to have a ton of people, especially in a program as big as the track program is, you're going to have a ton of people. But those people, they're going to be different shapes, different sizes. They're going to come together to make a winning team. And you got to be able to work with every kind of character you have in your team. And I think that the positive attitude that I think Sanka is his name on the movie, but that he brings is just the positive energy I try to bring as a captain, and just the drive that some of the guys in that movie have. It's inspiring, and it's what inspires me to be a captain every day, and that's definitely my favorite movie. It's also really funny.
That is also one of my favorite sports movies. I remember my mom showing me that movie, and I was like, I don't know if I'll like it. It is such a good movie.
It's awesome. It's hilarious, and it's a true story too, which is awesome.
So funny.
That last scene where they're carrying the bobsled past the finish line, gets me to tears every time. I love that.
I'm doing outdoor track this season, so since you've been on the team, what are some things that I should expect going into this upcoming season?
Well, obviously, it's a great environment there. It's an awesome environment, and the first week you're there, I think this is one of the best things that any North Andover sport does, is just a trial week. You try every single event, because the biggest thing, when people come to track, they're just well, see that event, hurdles, not doing that. See that event, you should throw something, my arms are too small, I'm not going to do it. You make all these assumptions when you go to track, and you see all these people that look like they're built for their event, and you look at yourself and you think like, oh, that's not for me. So what I love about them is they just throw you in head first. They're going to throw you, you're going to hurdle, you're going to jump, you're going to run, you're going to throw. And we have so many coaches who are so smart in their own events, and they know exactly the body type they're looking for. They know how much potential you have based on your marks. And joining the program, you're gonna see how much passion that the seniors have, the upperclassmen have, and you're just gonna feed off that energy. Because I remember when I first joined track, I joined it with my friends, and like we just went there to just like run and stay in shape. And I was just like, why are these people caring so much about running in circles? But then I remember my favorite captain ever, when I was a freshman, was Matt McDevitt, and I remember he gave this speech before state relays, which was a big event for us, and he just like sounded so passionate in it, and it was in that moment where I was like, all right, I get it. I get why this means so much to them, and let me give some more so I can help in any way I can to this program. And that's like how I keep doing it now. I keep running as hard as I can, keep working as hard as I can for the people that came before us.
I'm super excited to join track.
It's gonna be awesome.
I've thought about some events that I might want to do, like since I want to get a bigger upper body, I want to do possibly like throwing like shot put or jab.
Yeah.
And throws just looks really cool, but next week is the start of the season, so we'll see.
It's going to be awesome. You're going to be trying everything. But we have a lot of great throwing coaches.
Last question. What's your favorite sporting event that you've ever gone to?
Sporting event that I've gone to? I'd say that I went to a Boston College hockey game with my friend from preschool, actually, and my dad. My dad went to Boston College for college, obviously, and he loved it there. And he took me and my friend to go see, like, he knew a guy on the team, so, like, he allowed us to sit in the locker rooms and stuff before the game, and it was sick.
That's
we got
awesome.
to, like, hold their trophies. They had just won the national championship.
Wow.
So we got to see that. But they were playing Holy Cross, who was a terrible team at the time, and Boston College was, like, insane. And they were playing, and it was, like, about to go into overtime, and it was 4-4.
Wow.
Against this, like, terrible team, and I was like, what are we doing here, Boston College? But then Holy Cross won it at the end, and I remember I was, like, sobbing on the way home. And I know that's, like, a weird thing to say for my favorite sporting event, but I used to cry all the time when I lost. Whenever anything didn't go my way, I'd just cry immediately. And like you said earlier, that's, like, the opposite of what I hope to be now. I hope to always have, like, a positive attitude with everything. So I think that game specifically taught me, because I was crying in public and next to my friend. I was like, this is kind of embarrassing. So I think I hold on to that memory, and I'm just like, you know what? There are worse things than just losing a sports game in life. You got to put things into perspective, which is what I hope to do all the time, and it's what I do. And so that game really changed my perspective.
This has been one of my favorite episodes to film so far
Mike.
since starting the podcast. And that'll do it for today's episode. It was awesome having you on the show, Nate.
Thank you,
and
Mike.
best of luck next year when you go to college.
Thank you.
Just a reminder, you can listen to In the Lane podcast on YouTube and Spotify. Also make sure to check it out at northandovercam.org and type in the Lane podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. You can also check out In the Lane podcast on Instagram, and make sure to drop a follow and stay tuned for announcements for upcoming episodes. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure to drop a follow and a 5-star rating. Nate, does this deserve a 5-star rating?
Absolutely it does, Mike.
Yes, sir. Nate is always right. Don't not listen to Nate. If you're an athlete or a coach and would like to be on the show, make sure to email inthelaneshow@gmail.com by clicking the link in the description, and tell me why you should be the next one on the In the Lane podcast. For our guest, Nate Solivan, across the way, I'm your host, Mike Lane, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.